Bizconsesh on exchange rates. So exchange rates is the value of one currency compared to another currency. That could be, for instance, Great British pounds compared to USD, United States dollars. Now, exchange rates, they have an impact on businesses when they change. But it is vital, absolutely vital for businesses that do one or both of these things. So exchange rates is vital if you sell abroad, what's known as export, or you purchase your supplies being your raw materials or your components from abroad, and that's known as an import or importing. So if you do exporting and or importing, exchange rates matter to you, but they matter to you in different ways. So let's go through the 4 variations. We'll start firstly with exporting, exports, and if you have a strong pound or the pound is increasing. Well, this is what it means. So if the pound is increasing and you export, then you're going to appear more expensive in international markets. You're going to appear more expensive abroad. So therefore, those markets that you're selling to abroad, you're going to be less competitive, less price competitive in those markets now. So that's going to mean less sales abroad and less revenue abroad. But if the pound were to fall or the pound were to become weaker, well then, firstly, it's going to be the opposite. You're going to appear cheaper in those international markets. So as a consequence, you'll now be more competitive, more price competitive. So that's going to result, hopefully, in more sales and more revenue. So whether you've got a strong pound or a weak pound, it has opposing effects if you export. Now, you as a business could import your supplies, your raw materials and your components from abroad. Differing effects. So if you import and you have a strong pound or the pound is increasing, well now it's going to be cheaper to buy the same amount of those supplies, those raw materials or components, because you can get more for your money effectively because the pound is worth more, it's stronger. Okay, so that's going to mean for that same amount of supplies, reduced costs. Reduced costs means that you might be able to reduce your price. Maybe in a competitive market, that's a great thing. And if you reduce your price, then it's going to increase your demand and increase your sales and increase your revenue. However, you don't need to reduce your prices just because the pound got stronger. You could leave your prices in the same place. And if you leave your prices in the same place, given that now you've reduced your costs, well that will mean your gross and net profit margins will increase, assuming that your supplies is part of your direct costs. Now let's go to the opposite of that. So if the pound were to fall or pound were to get weaker and you are importing, well it's going to mean that it's more expensive to buy the same amount of raw materials and components because you can get less for your money now because the pound is worth less, it's weaker. So that means you're going to have increased costs. If you've got increased costs, it might result in the fact that you need to now increase your prices. But if you increase your prices, your demand will fall and your sales will fall. However, you might not want to increase your prices. You might have to, because you're in a competitive market, leave your prices where they are. And if you do that, and you leave your prices where they are, now that your costs have increased because you're buying less from abroad for those supplies, well that will mean your gross and net profit margin will fall, assuming that these supplies are part of your direct costs. Know this grid, smash these exchange rate questions. Now the last thing is learning these variations. A cheeky little mnemonic that the great Ray, the Chief Jarvis, taught to me many, many years ago. Here you go. Spiced, strong pound, imports cheap, exports dear, and Whipperdeck. Weak pound, imports dear, exports cheap. Remember that. Beautiful. Been knocking around for 50 years. Love it. I'll see you at the next video.